Good afternoon. This week's discussion is talking about um, community, the relationship between community grasp of divine forgiveness and the capacity to function as a community of forgiveness, and why is the ongoing experience of divine forgiveness especially important in Christian leaders. So, with this passage in Parent chapter 7, pages 139 through 141, it's talking about the community grasp of forgiveness and how to function as a community. And it goes to the story of Peter and how Peter denied Jesus in chapter 18, and in chapter 21 how Jesus came and showed himself to the disciples again, and they recognized who Jesus was. And basically, once they realized who he was, Peter kind of walked away because he realized it was Jesus. And when they got to the shore, Jesus had done recreated the scene from where Peter had denied Jesus 3 times. And he had the fish and the bread there. And basically, Jesus asked Peter again 3 times, "Do you love me?" And each time, Peter confessed his love for Jesus. And each time he confessed his love for Jesus, Jesus restored him and made him afresh by basically feeding his sheep and or feeding his flock. So it's basically saying that the disciples were on the water, basically not knowing anything, just living life. But when Jesus showed himself to them, especially Peter, he started confessing his love for him. And this was Jesus trying to get him to confess his love so he can forgive him, for show him that he forgive him for denying him. And the 3 times that he confessed his love, Jesus made him afresh. And so with this, Jesus expanded Peter's calling. And with Peter coming back, confessing his love for Jesus and Jesus forgiving him, um, Peter now understood Jesus' word about resurrection and forgiveness, because God came back and forgave Peter for what he had done for denying him. And on page 140 in Parent, it says that shepherds of God's sheep are compelled by forgiveness of the risen Jesus. And then going to my other source besides Parent is Robert H. Gundry, old survey of the New Testament. On page 323, it talks about the scene of how the charcoal fire prepares Peter's compensating for the 3 denials of Jesus with 3 affirmations of the love for him. For it was the charcoal fire where, like I said, Peter denied Jesus. So Jesus recreated it for him to basically affirm his love for him. And then it talks about where Jesus gave them the fish in the net and how the net didn't tear, because it's basically symbolizing how Jesus not losing any of those whom his father has given him. So Jesus don't want to lose any of his flock, so he didn't tear the net so that the disciples wouldn't lose any of the fish that Jesus had given to them. And then it goes back and it also talks about with the fish, about how Jesus fed the 5,000, and basically the bread represents Jesus them giving them himself. So God showed himself to them and he gave himself to them as a sacrificial flesh, as the bread of life. And as leaders, Parent talks about as the Christian leaders through ongoing discipline of confession, their lives will naturally come to be engraved by joys that follow forgiveness. So basically, as Christian leaders, them confessing and forgiveness and things to that nature, they are basically giving joy. So when such encounters together with forgiveness and brokenness become the shepherd's ongoing reality, such things will soon also become the reality of the sheep. So what the leaders show and what the leaders receive, their sheep will follow, and they will also see that forgiveness if forgiveness is not in the life of the Christian leaders, then they're lost because they don't know as sheep what forgiveness is. So as Christian leaders, they have to show forgiveness to their sheep for what they may do so that their sheep can follow them and understand what forgiveness is. So I hope everyone understands and I didn't confuse anybody on my discussion, and I look forward to everyone's responses and discussions this week. Thank you.